Hello and welcome back to The Drag Detective, where today we are going to be talking about Global All-Stars for one last time. And then, after this, we can bury it, we can forget it, we can never bring it up again. Never say hickory, honey, ham again. If you get that reference, post it in the comments, and I will literally love you forever. So, as we always do in these Unrigging videos, I will be using both my own opinions as well as the poll that I put out to try and craft what would have happened if there wasn't any riggery. If the Rue Girls were not planned to be in the top from the start, if every queen that, English was not their first language wasn't shuffled to the side, what would happen? Would we have the same top four? Would Alyssa Edwards still get the crown? And would Athena Likis still be our pork chop? We will go through every episode, talk about every placement, and solve the mystery of what would happen if Drag Race Global All-Stars wasn't rigged. Before we start, I gotta do it. I gotta plug Drag Duel Season 3. These graphics were done by our incredible animator, Do Artsy, on Instagram. Make sure you follow him. He's an incredible animator. We are so happy with these promos. It looks so good, and I can't wait for you to see the Meet the Warriors promos coming out on Monday, October 6th at 2 p.m. EST. So this season is everything. We have a cast of incredible performers from all over the world. Kings, queens, monsters, things, everything you could ever imagine. And we're so excited to show them off because they truly brought the drag on this season. So Drag Duel Season 3 will premiere October 20th on the Drag Duel YouTube channel at 3 p.m. EST. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure you're following us on Instagram to get all of the juicy bits that come beforehand with the promo. And I'm so excited. We have put so much into this season, and some of the guest judges we got are gaggy. So now on with the video. So we are going to start with the double premiere. We have 2 talent shows to break down, and in our first talent show we have Alyssa Edwards, Athena Likis, Kitty Scott Claus, Queen Kong, Miranda LeBrow, and Soa Demuse performing. We have a lot of really fun talents here. A lot of just, performances, lip syncing to their own song, which we are used to in these talent shows, but we also get some different ones. Athena does a kind of comedy burlesque number. Miranda does trapeze, which is extremely impressive and not something you see every season. And Soa Demuse sings live. And then we have Alyssa, Queen, and Kitty doing the typical lip-syncing numbers, but Alyssa's is definitely different because she is doing this, workout routine, flash dance 80s moment. She's tongue-popping. She's doing all the things you would expect Alyssa to do. And actually, Kitty, I think, was singing live. So, lots of great performances. I don't think anybody did poorly at all in this episode, but I will have a top 3 and then 3 queens that are safe. So the first queen that I think would be safe here is Kitty Scott Claus. I think that her performance was good. It just wasn't super memorable. And her runway, which is the Garden of Eden, a runway that almost everybody did a phenomenal job on, hers was definitely one of the weakest. It's not bad, but it is not just reaching the level that some other people hit. So she would definitely be safe for me. I also think that Soa Demuse would be safe. I think that her performance was super fun. I mean, it was not fun wouldn't be the right word. It was very moving. It was very touching. It was very moody. Her voice sounded good. She looked hot. But again, her Garden of Eden look was just not as good as some of the others. And I don't think that her talent would be in my, top 3 favorite talents. So I would definitely put her safe. And then the last person I put safe was Athena. I think that her talent was super funny. It was super kind of grand. She had props. She had, a stage setup. It was very, very well done. And she also had a really, really fun runway. This is a very Athena runway. It's kind of minimalist and kind of like streetwear, but it's also so high fashion. But I just think that the three that I have in the top just had an overall better night. And from the top three, one will be high and the other two will be in the top two. The person that I chose to be high is Queen Kong. She has a super high intensity, super fast paced, dancey talent number. She has great choreo. She picks a dancer up and carries him around on her shoulders. It's just wonderful. And her runway, I think, is good. But I do think amongst so many like stellar top two looks, this one does kind of get lost in the shuffle. Whereas Alyssa, I just think had the best talent of the entire night, and her runway was also one of the best of the entire night, and one of her best of the season. When I saw this runway on Alyssa, this is the caliber that I thought I would be getting every week from her, but it simply was not. A lot of her runways are just very simple, kind of forgettable, but this one is a absolute standout. And Miranda Lebrau I also put in the top because I think the trapeze act was just so well done. We're talking about talent. Like, that is a talent. Like, nobody else, I'm sure, in this entire room could do anything like this. And I think she did it exceptionally. And I think her runway was super fun as well. Maybe not the best of the night, but I love the snake. I love the color pop of the blue. The love that the snake is like chomping her head. It has a little bit of camp. It has a little bit of fashion. It has a little bit of kook. And I feel like that's what makes Miranda Lebrau Miranda Lebrau. So we have our top two of Alyssa Edwards and Miranda Lebrau, and they are going to lip sync to Only Girl in the World by Rihanna. And, I mean, come on. Alyssa Edwards is going to win this lip sync. This was a wonderful lip sync for her. She did so well. It was so cunty. She just knows how to work a stage. She knows how to work the audience. She knows how to make Rue, get her attention. And as we saw with Miranda's lip syncs this season, she's just a really kooky performer. And this is such a, cunty kind of just pop girl song. I don't think it would translate as well to what Miranda usually is bringing in these lip syncs. So I think that she would get her top two, but I think that Alyssa would get the win here. So now we get into the second part of the premiere, which we have 6 more queens performing. We have Eva La Queen, Galavaro, Nelenia, Pythia, Tessa Testicle, and Vanity Vane. And the 3 that I think would be safe here was Tessa Testicle, because I think of this entire talent show, she was the only one who did not bring it as hard as she probably could have. Hers was just a little confusing. It was a little all over the place, but it was very Tessa. It was very Tessa. It was fun to watch, but it just wasn't giving what it probably should have been giving. But I will say, Tessa has an incredible runway. This is the Money Makes the World Go Round runway, where they have to wear looks inspired by the currency of their country, and Tessa just looks so hot. She looks so good. Another queen that I think would definitely be safe is Pythia. It's hard because I adore this talent number. She is doing this storybook reading, and it's funny, it's campy, she's dressed as a clown, she, obviously rehearsed this super well because she doesn't even stumble over her words once. The storybook she drew herself, so she's showing off a lot of different talents, and even her runway is incredible. I absolutely love this runway, this warrior, but I just think other queens did better. I think of the talent shows, this was my favorite one, even with one of the queens not doing well. I just think that there were so many different types of talent that we saw in this one, and I just think that Pythia maybe isn't as memorable as some of these other performances. And the third person that I would put safe is actually someone who won, Vanity Vane. Vanity has a really great song, but she has a very kind of low energy performance. She starts off in a bed, and she does most of it in the bed, and then she just kind of gets out of the bed and performs at the end of the bed while she has kind of dancers surrounding her. But I just think there's another performance here that is very similar, but was done, I think, so much better. And despite Vanity having an incredible runway, I just think she just missed getting into that top 3. So my top 3 were for sure Eva La Queen, Galavaro, and Nelenia. Now, of course, for me, Eva La Queen was going to be in this top 2. Like, Eva's performance is so funny. She's like showing us how to cook rice, but then she like takes a break to fight a dragon. There's choreography, there's a blow up dragon suit, there's swords, and then she comes back and realizes she never plugged in her rice maker. So there's like the drama, there's the performance, there's the comedy. It's everything you could ever want from a talent show. This is one of my favorite talent shows ever. And even though her runway isn't the best of the week by any means, that talent show absolutely landed her a place in the top 2. Now, for Gala and Nelenia, it's really hard because I think that they both did exceptionally well. Nelenia does literally a VMA performance. Like, choreo, the song is good. She jumps on this tower and lights a torch at the end. Like, there's so much going on. It is so high quality. It is so polished and showed what an incredible performer she is. And her runway is super, super cute as well. And then Gala does a pole dancing routine, and it's probably the best pole dancing I've ever seen on the show. She's so hot. It's so well done. And then her runway is also really good. So it's hard. I would probably give it to Nelly, but the poll results gave it to Gala. I feel like the people at the time were saying Gala deserved to win this, so I will give the win here to Gala. And she will be in the top 2 with Eva La Queen lip syncing to Paranoid by Donna Paola, the guest judge of the week. And, you know, with Vanity and Eva, this wasn't the best lip sync, but I think if Gala was in this lip sync, it would have been everything. It would have been so, so good. And I think that very clearly Gala would have won this lip sync over Eva. And as we know, Gala won nothing on this season, so this would have been a really good moment for her to shine right from the jump. And that means that our first 2 winners of the season are Galavaro and Alyssa Edwards, which does feel correct. And with that, we move into the ball, the International Queen of Mystery Ball, the Jane Bond Ball, if you will. And this has our first elimination of the season. And looking at some of these ball packages, I feel like a lot of them were just kind of really safe, especially the third category. I wasn't super clear on what they were asking for in the third category. I don't think that they were super clear. Like, if this is spy gear, then like why were they not given materials that were giving more spy? Like, it just seems like they were given random materials and they can just do whatever they wanted. But this is like the James Bond ball, and like the category was like International Queen of Mystery, and it's like, then why are we giving them just like some regular old fabric you picked up from Mood? So there's a lot of people that just were super safe. Queen Kong was super safe. Eva La Queen was super safe. Athena Likis was super safe, because there's no way that these looks deserve to be even close to the bottom. Even the one she made herself, despite being a little bit more on the simple side, was absolutely giving Athena. And it was honestly giving Spy more than a lot of the other looks were. This is like the Spy who like goes to the gala, not the Galavaro, the gala ball, and is like undercover, and then she like pulls a knife out from like her thong or something, and then like kills all the bad guys. It's giving that. So for me, Athena will not be the pork chop of the season. I think she was safe as fuck, especially with those first 2 looks. Just looking at this collection, like, she is so well branded. She has a style, and I feel like she really brought that to this challenge, whereas some other people, not so much. But let's start with the positive. So Pythia absolutely deserved to win this challenge. Pythia's runways were across the board phenomenal. The she-villain was giving she-villain. The boss lady was also like a spy lady, like with like the security cameras. It was so cool. And then the look that she made is giving this like superhero spy bitch. I mean, she worked with this kind of vinyl latex material, which is not easy to do, while also helping everybody else with their looks. So for me, it was not even close. Pythia smashed this ball and 1000% deserved the win. Alyssa was also in the top this episode, and I think that was fair. I think a lot of people had at least one look that was like a miss, and I think all 3 of Alyssa's looks are fantastic. especially the first look, this like moving cybernetic, like it was like you're inside of a computer chip. Like it was so cool. Now the look that she made, again, it's like, how is this international queen of mystery? But it's a well-made look and she looks great. So I think Alyssa in the top does make sense. Now for the actual episode, it's unclear whether Tessa was in the top or the bottom. The wiki has her in the top, and based on the judging, I also think she was probably in the top because of her first two looks, which were both phenomenal. But that last look was such a chop. There were seams busted. It did not fit well. It looked so haphazard. It just, no. So I decided to put Vanity Vane in the top because I think she was the only queen besides Pythia and Alyssa to have all three looks be pretty damn good, especially the last look. I feel like it's also giving the category. The ruching is very, very nice. I feel like she styled it well. You know, Vanity definitely had some misses on the runway this season, but I think for this ball, they were all hits. She looked great in all three looks. And for the bottoms, I did not put, obviously, Athena in the bottom, and I did not put Miranda Lebrau in the bottom. I have Miranda as safe because I think the first two looks are super fun. The She-Will villain, it's a little kooky, it's a little strange, but it feels like Miranda. It feels like her brand. It feels like what she would do for it. And even though her last look was kind of strange, I think that there was some people with some worse looks than her, like Tessa Testicle. I think that Miranda and Tessa each had kind of a similar package where the first two looks I really enjoyed and the last look not so much, but I just think that Tessa's last look was so bad, and I am going to be harder on her because she is a seamstress. She is a designer. She can sew. So the fact that like hers had visible tears and seams ripping and all of these things, like that's just not, this is All Stars. That's not okay. But I still do think there were two people worse than Tessa, so I will have Tessa in the low spot. And the bottom two for me were Kitty Scott Claus and Soa Demuse. Now, Soa, I think, kind of had like a Hormona Lisa moment where none of her looks are actively terrible, but they're all just very, very forgettable, especially the one that she made herself. I mean, it's very, very simple. I mean, I am not the greatest sewer in the world. I took a class. I know how to use a machine. I made some pants. I made a couple little things. If I can look at a garment and know exactly how it was made and feel like I could do it, there's a problem. There's a problem there. And I feel like that's how I feel with Soa's looks. So, yeah, Soa I do think would be in the bottom. But I do think the worst of this challenge is Kitty Scott Claus. Because, oh, goodness me, the first look. I know she's trying to be campy. I know she's trying to play a character. I know exactly what character she is trying to do. But can't we just look a little bit better while we're doing it? I mean, the jacket doesn't fit super well. The pants don't fit at all. Then the jacket is glittery while the pants are not. So it just looks very mismatched. Oh, this is just not great. It's not great. And then her she-villain look is just, I mean, I truly think this is a backup for her space look that she wore later in the season, because this is what you wear for the space runway. Like, I don't know why having, like, sparkler titties makes you a she-villain. Maybe she could have, like, worn a different wig to give it, like, a more menacing look, or changed her makeup to, like, give it a more menacing look, but this is not giving the category whatsoever. And then the last look, what is she the international spy of? Cocktail hour at the country club? Like, I don't understand. This is, again, like a very, very simple look to make, and I just don't think it's that flattering, and I also just don't think it fits the category. So for me, I think 3 for 3 Kitty Scott Claus was a miss on the runway, and it was criminal that she was not in the bottom here, which, I mean, this was like the talk of the town when this episode dropped, was everyone just tearing apart these looks and talking about how, Athena should not have gone anywhere and it should have been Kitty Scott Claus going home. So in the bottom two, we have Soa and Kitty lip syncing to Bad Idea Right by Olivia Rodrigo. And this was not a great lip sync. I mean, Soa won for sure, but like this is like a fun song. This is a bratty song. This is kind of a campy song. There's a lot of ad-libbing. And I know y'all are going to hate me for this, but Kitty would win this lip sync, especially over Soa, because Soa, she just gave like a very general kind of lip sync performance. Kitty would camp this up. Kitty would, have funny faces with the ad libs. Kitty would be doing all of these things. She'd do a shablam. It would be a moment. I wouldn't say she would like kill the whole entire lip sync, but I think it would definitely be better than what Soa or Athena did. So I would say Kitty would win this lip sync and send Soa Demuse home first as our pork chop queen, RIP. So now we are going to go into the girl groups episode, where I think it's very easy to just, not have to make these teams any harder than they need to be. Like, I think Athena can just take Soa's place, because Soa was on a team with Pythia and Queen, and Soa was there because Queen picked her. I think she picked Soa like first or second or something like that. I think that Athena would probably be picked near the end, but the last two queens left were Nelly and Tessa, and I do think that Queen would probably have chosen like Athena over them. So let's just say Athena would be on that team. They are doing international girl groups. They are each getting the same song, Say Love, but there are 3 mixes to it. There's a Latin X mix, there is a K-pop mix, and there's a Europop mix. So getting into these groups, let's start out with Queen's group. Queen would have Athena and would have Pythia. And Pythia definitely struggled in this challenge, and I do feel like Athena, she's not like the greatest dancer in the world. I looked at some of her performances on her season of Belgium, and I think that, it's hard. I don't know if she would struggle as much as Pythia did, but they did have the Latin X mix, which I just don't think is, Athena or Pythia's vibe at all. But Queen did do a good job in this performance, and she was a good leader. She did her best to make sure that, Pythia got the moves down and stuff. So, I think that they would struggle, but I still think there would be a group that would be maybe worse. And that group was Alyssa's. I think Alyssa just gave them some really hard choreo, and I don't think they were able to fully get it down. But I do think this should have just been judged, not fully in teams, but there was clearly a winning team, and that was Vanity Vane's team. She and Nelenia and Kitty and Galavaro all did so well. They felt like a girl group. There was chemistry. It felt like they really, truly, were working together. It was just a really, really, really great performance from all of them. And Vanity ends up in the bottom this episode for God knows what reason. But I think what should have happened here is all of them are in the top, and the winner is Nelenia. And I chose Nelenia over Kitty Scott Claus because of this runway. Because Kitty's runway, listen, they're doing these, multiple reveals with, different colors. It's called, Color My World, but they're supposed to do multiple reveals with it. And Kitty's looks are not good. They are not good at all. And Nelenia had a really, really great runway. And I would say in the challenge, they were pretty equal. I think Kitty and Nelly were both super, super good in the challenge. They were the two best of their group, I would say. And so if runway's breaking the tie, Nelly deserved to win this challenge. The fact that Kitty won in this look is a little bit crazy, especially when Nelly had a look that had a through line. It had a concept, this Finding Nemo nautical moment. It was so cute. Every look was well made. And I can't say the same for Kitty's, because some of them look like she whipped them up in 5 minutes in the workroom. So Nelly will win this challenge. The rest of her team will be in the top, and then everyone else would basically get critiqued on the main stage. And it's hard to say what would happen here. Alyssa Edwards had a really, really bad verse. It was bizarre, even, I would say. It was a little bit bizarre.
Hold up, wait, let me add my two. Do what you love and love what you do.
And I feel like, she wasn't the team captain, but she took over the choreo, and there was just a lot of issues with the choreo. It was just a little bit messy. I feel like she would be kind of to blame for that. And on top of that, her runway was not great. And for Alyssa Edwards, she has so much budget. She has so many resources that these other queens don't have. And this runway is just not great. I mean, there were a lot of looks on this runway that weren't great, but this one is just not, I want more. It's Alyssa Edwards on her second All-Stars. Where is the glamour? I also think that Miranda being in the bottom of this episode did make sense. Miranda was just a little bit awkward. You could tell that it's kind of like cunty K-pop dancing is not what she is used to doing. And I also think that her runway, while it did make sense, judges, made total sense. I completely got the story she was telling. The materials, especially in that last dress, were just not expensive looking. Especially that last fabric. Like, that fabric is so easy to wrinkle. So when you shove it up into other, outfits and then reveal it, it's just going to come out wrinkled, and there's nothing you can do about it because that fabric is just so cheap. And I think if she had used a different kind of fabric, it would have maybe translated better and it wouldn't have looked as cheap. So I think it was a bit of a miss on the runway and a miss in the challenge. I also think the third person I would put in the bottom, and I'm close between Athena or Pythia, I think it would be Athena, because I think that Pythia and Athena would both struggle in the challenge, but Pythia had a wonderful runway. She had a great, great runway, and Athena's runway she posted what it would have been, and Mama, what is this? Mama, what is this? So honestly, I because everyone is going to be getting critiqued, I do think that they would have both Athena and Pythia as low, but I would put Alyssa in the bottom with Miranda. And they are going to lip sync to Spice Up Your Life by the Spice Girls. This was a great lip sync when Vanity did it. I think this would be a great lip sync when Alyssa did it. I mean, Alyssa was like, she was like a teen in the 90s, and this was probably her jam. She would eat this lip sync up. And unfortunately, Miranda, I mean, she has some really fun moments, but like, she pulls out a clown nose for some reason. She tries to kind of camp it up, and really this is just like a fierce girl group song. You just want to like serve. And Alyssa, I think, would serve and would send home Miranda LeBrow. So just 4 episodes in, 2 Rue girls have already been in the bottom. So, that's interesting considering Alyssa was never in the bottom and Kitty was only in the bottom at top 6. But, I mean, I remember when this Alyssa Edwards, performance came out, everyone was like, what is this, Mama? This is garbage. So I think that that's what would probably happen. And now we move into the acting challenge, where they are put into 3 groups and have to act in Barbie parodies that are also boob parodies, that are also parodies of other movies. So there's a Pirates of the Caribbean spoof, there is a Frankenstein spoof, and there is a Jurassic Park spoof. And they picked their teams by pulling Barbies out of a box. So I think that we can just say that Athena would pick SOAs and end up in the pirate group with Pythia. Now, I did go back and watch, some of the comedic acting-ish challenges on Belgique, and Athena was never that great. And this was a really great challenge, I feel like, overall. The writing was terrible, but I feel like a lot of the queens did the best that they could with it, even when Michelle is giving them tips that are actively making their performances worse. But I think that in the actual episode, the Jurassic Park parody is in the top because it's the 3 Rue girls and Queen Kong wins. But I think that there were great performances in every single spoof and bad performances in every single spoof. So I think that they easily could have picked one from each spoof to be in the top, and for that I think it was Pythia from the Pirates, Queen Kong from the Jurassic Park, and Vanity Vane from the Frankenstein. Vanity was super funny as this like Lady Gaga Frankenstein. She did a really funny thing with her voice. She had some really fun mannerisms, and her runway is not the worst that it's ever been. So I think this was kind of a good week for her. The category was Brown Town, and I was kind of worried because I don't like the color brown, but I feel like a lot of queens did some fun things with it. Vanity kind of just took a more like streamlined approach. She just like wore a pretty brown dress, but she looks good. And then Queen wore a very cultural look, and she obviously looks absolutely fantastic. And then Pythia wore this like very Pythia, very outside of the box. It's like those rich bear rug things that those like people in movies have, and she like deconstructed it into this gown with a nude illusion. She looks expensive. She looks incredible. I think that Queen and Pythia both did really, really well in this challenge, and then both had really, really good runways. But I do think Pythia could have and maybe should have won this challenge. I feel like of all of the characters, her like Jack Sparrow parody, it was so funny. She was hilarious. And I think especially the end, like, is the pirate ship still running? Like, she nailed the cadence and the comedy, and it was just so well done. And I think especially after the week prior where she really struggled, this was a great week for Pythia. So while I think Queen also did a great job, I think overall of everybody, Pythia did the best for this episode and will be getting the win. Now, as for the bottoms, I do think that Alyssa and Kitty were not good, like at all. They were kind of awkward, but I do think Kitty was a little bit better, but she also had the worst runway. I think Alyssa had a really great runway. I love this Alyssa runway, and Kitty's is just kind of just a little basic. But I do think when it comes to the actual performances in the challenge, Alyssa was not that funny. So I would say that Alyssa would be in the bottom 3. I also think that Athena would probably be in the bottom 3 as well. Her brown look is cool, but it's nothing like super special. And I just think that she would struggle in the challenge more than a lot of the other queens did. But the clear worst of this episode was, unfortunately, Eva La Queen. She just was so stiff, and she had kind of a hard character to do. I think that the Karen character is a lot harder than people give it credit for, and I feel like whenever we get this kind of Karen character, it just never really works out that well. So Eva would absolutely be in the bottom here. The question is, would she be there with Alyssa or with Athena? And I think she would be there with Athena, unfortunately. I think Alyssa's runway was just so fantastic, and she wasn't super bad. So I think that Athena would do worse, and they will be lip syncing to Take On Me. Again, I think this would be a bad lip sync. You know, Take On Me is such a fun song. I can't wait for you to see the version that we do on a certain show that I host and produce. But it's so much fun, and I just feel like Gala and Eva, when they did it, took it like so seriously, and I feel like Athena would probably do the same because Bad Idea Right she took kind of really seriously, and that's another kind of fun song. So I don't think this would be a good lip sync. I do think that Athena would probably do better than Eva, though. Eva just, I mean, this was not a good lip sync from her. She tried doing these reveals and things, but she, you know, she really knows her words and she can give face, but I just feel like she focuses so much on the face and the mouth that she forgets to do anything with the rest of her body sometimes, and that's what this lip sync was giving. So I think Athena would have at least a little bit more movement and something going on. So I will give this lip sync win to Athena Likis, and Eva La Queen will be going home in third. Sorry, going home third, not in third place. It's giving when James Mansfield went home and she goes, "I'm first." So moving into the cocktail design challenge. So this is a challenge where I feel like a lot of people did pretty well. They had to bring their own fabrics, and then they swapped fabrics with a team that they made in the beginning. So they had to like team up in the beginning. RuPaul was like, team up with who you would want to have a drink with. I feel like Athena, because she's still here in Soa's place, I feel like Athena would probably partner up with Pythia because they're good friends, and I think they would both have really good materials. But of course, there's all this drama because the queens have to work with materials they didn't want. Tessa Testicle, wins the lottery by getting Alyssa Edwards' materials, and I think Tessa very clearly wins this episode. Tessa she has struggled a little bit so far in the competition. She did better in the girl groups and the acting challenge, but those first two challenges for her were kind of rough. And I think she absolutely slayed this episode, and she totally redeemed her design look from the ball. This is just so her, but it's also kind of Alyssa, but it's also Tessa. This is just a great look. It's a great, great look. And for the other two in the top, I think they would stay the same. Queen Kong, her look, they had to make cocktail dresses, and this is more business than cocktail, but I think this is a really, really wonderful look and something very different for Queen than what she has shown thus far. And Pythia, it's just this liquid gold. I agree with RuPaul that maybe the styling kind of distracted from the dress itself, but this is just a really, really well-made look. And then I feel like a lot of people did okay. Nelly did okay, Alyssa did okay, Kitty did okay, and I think that leaves a bottom three of Vanity Vane, Gallavaro, and Athena. I feel like Athena I don't know if she would necessarily do bad, but I do think that maybe she wouldn't do enough. And we also have to, put into account that Kitty would have different materials, because I think Kitty worked with Pythia's materials. So Athena would be working with a lot of these big bright colors, which I feel like is not really her thing. She's more of a more low-key, neutral, dark kind of aesthetic. So I think that she would definitely be working with materials that are outside of what she would regularly be wearing. And I don't think that she would be able to do as well as some of the other queens who I put as safe. Gala, I think that her dress is nice. I think it just needs a little something more. There's something off. Obviously the padding is crazy. And I think she needed to pad more at the top to make sense of what was going down at the bottom. And then also we have Vanity, who just kind of spiraled this episode. She had a really cute design that she showed RuPaul, and then last second she scrapped it and she kind of put together this woodland nymph fairy dirty, I don't even know. She was just rubbing paint on herself and spray painting things and scrunching up paper. And I do feel like Vanity should have been in the bottom here, because while I think that her look was cool, it's really cool that she was able to put this together in such a short time and have it look as polished as it did. It's just not giving what the prompt was. The prompt was cocktail wear. What are you wearing to a cocktail hour at the club? I don't know. Do you go to cocktail hours at the club? I don't know. Not my vibe. But she just didn't fit the category whatsoever. And I just think that Gallavaro's look was not bad at all. There was just some slight tweaking that needed to maybe be done. So I think that the bottom two would be Vanity Vane and Athena Likis, and they are going to lip sync to Bang Bang by Ariana Grande, Jessie J, and Nicki Minaj. And, it sucks that we wouldn't see Gala in this lip sync, because I think Gala absolutely tore. But I think that this is not maybe what Athena would do. I just don't see her as a super high tempo, high intensity launching across the stage. And I don't think Vanity necessarily does that either, but I think that Vanity could camp up the song. And as we saw, Vanity can kind of do anything. She did Spice Up Your Life. She did The Muppets. She did Celine Dion. So, I truly think that Vanity is able to kind of do any song. I think that Vanity would win this lip sync, and this would be, Athena's third week in the bottom three. So I think Athena would go home here, but she lasted a lot longer than she did in the original season. And we are at now the top 8 with the same exact queens that were in the top 8 originally. So it is the Snatch Game of Love. Of course, they are split into 2 groups, and they each have a different Javi from Drag Race España to be their snatcher. For me, I think it's a very clear top 3 of Kitty, Pythia, and Nelenia. But let's be real, Pythia won this episode. She switched her character at the very last second, and she was so funny. She made incest jokes. She was this bro-y Zeus. It was so funny. And, Kitty's Diana was also really, really funny, but it just, I don't remember it when I look at Zeus right after. And the runway was, they basically had to be foods from their country. And, Kitty has a really cute English breakfast look. It's really well done. But Pythia has this incredible spanakopita look that is just so chic, so fashion. Of course it is, because everything Pythia wore on this runway was incredible. She even says in Untucked, and the queens seem to agree, that she got the best critiques that anyone had ever gotten all season. To me, that means she should have won this challenge. And I was very happy that the poll results agreed with me, but also basically every week the poll results are skewed against Kitty. Like, if it was up to the poll results, Kitty would be, lip syncing and going home every single week. But yeah, I think Pythia should have won this challenge, and that would have been her third challenge win, and she's gonna need them, because I think these last couple of episodes would be a little bit more difficult for her. So I think Alyssa and Queen, neither of them were funny, but neither of them were bad. And then we have the bottom three of Vanity Vane, Tessa Testicle, and Gala Varro. Gala as Laura Leon was just, I think she was struggling with the English. I think she was struggling to come up with things quick enough, and she just wasn't funny. Tessa as Suzanne Barsh was crazy. I mean, as we'd expect from Tessa, it was crazy. And I think it was low-key the worst of the night. I think it was even worse than Gala, because I think Gala was like maybe just quieter and just kind of talking, but like Tessa was actively doing things and taking big swings that were not working at all. It was crazy. And then Vanity does Lorene, and I just think it's kind of a hard character to do, because I don't know how you would necessarily make her funny, and I think that that's what she struggled with. I don't think she was able to make her funny. And looking at the runways, I mean, everyone had a great runway this episode. They all slayed. So I don't really think that can, determine who's on the bottom. I think of the three, Vanity was the least bad. And so that would leave a bottom two of Tessa Testicle and Gala Varro. As we know, Tessa had, a streak of 3 weeks where she was low, and she, I think, for sure should have lip synced for some of those low placements. I think they really liked Tessa, but she definitely got carried a bit at the second half of this competition. So they're lip syncing to the Muppet song, the "Banana," and Vanity obviously slayed this, so it sucks that she wouldn't be here, but Tessa's in a cow suit. And as we saw, Gala, I think she tried, she had the little puppet hand, but I just, she kind of just did the same thing the whole time. I don't think that this is a song she would ever do, obviously. I mean, this is not a song many drag queens would do, low-key. They should, but they probably don't. I think that Tessa would eat this. Tessa is so stupid. Tessa is not afraid to look dumb. Tessa is campy. And so I think she would have fun in her little cow suit. And I think that she would win this lip sync and unfortunately send Gala Varro home. But this would be Gala Varro's first bottom two lip sync. And if you remember, in the actual season, she lip synced 3 times in a row. So I don't know what they were trying to do to get rid of this girl, but I truly don't think her run was nearly as bad as it was on the actual show. I mean, here she has a high placement and a win, which she didn't have on the actual season. So we have our top 7 going into the roast, which in the actual episode was a double win between Kitty and Queen. I think that's insanity. I think Kitty and Queen were both high for me, but Nelly won this episode. Nelenia won this episode because the whole time, this whole episode, she's worried about doing this in English. She's worried because they don't really do roasts like this in Italy, and she's just not used to this type of humor. And then she goes out and she gives some of the most original jokes of the night. So many of the jokes in this roast were just things I've heard before. So many of the jokes, Kitty especially and Alyssa especially, were just so many jokes I've heard before. And Nelenia came in with some really original, really funny, and really just Nelenia jokes. And then her runway, which was the Blow Me Away runway, they have a fan blowing on them. It was super, super well done. It was super fun. It was nice seeing her in red, this really fiery color. It was a really kind of different moment for her. So I think Nelenia tore this episode. And Queen and Kitty, they can be in the top. That leaves Alyssa as safe, I think, and the bottom 3 would be Pythia, Vanity Vane, and Tessa Testicle. Now, I think Vanity is clearly going to be in the bottom here. As you saw in the Riggery video, I had Kayla react to Vanity's roast because it was so bad and so cringy, and Kayla hates cringe, so I had to catch that on camera. And the look, I mean, she knows it. Michelle and Rue knew it. I know it. You know it, sitting at home on your couch right now in your little jammies, hopefully petting a cute cat on your lap. It's not good. So Vanity's for sure in the bottom, and that is leaving us with Tessa and Pythia. One will be low, one will be in the bottom. It's hard. I think they both have incredible looks, but for me, I think Pythia had some jokes that should have landed. She had some jokes that I think deserved a laugh, whereas I feel like Tessa maybe had one at the beginning and then just got worse and worse and worse as she went along. So for me, I think Tessa should have been in the bottom here. Lip syncing against Vanity Vane to I Drove All Night by Celine Dion. And I mean, come on. Like, Vanity Vane absolutely annihilated this lip sync. And I think that she would send Tessa home in 7th place. So now we are at the makeover. Pythia is still here, and Queen Kong gets to divvy out the makeover partners as the winner of the mini challenge. I think that, Queen was pretty nice to everybody, and I think that she would probably put Pythia with Athena because they were friends, and they have, similar shapes, similar-ish skin tones, so, makes sense. So Pythia for the makeover was going to wear this look, which is super fun. It's super Pythia. She did wear something similarly kind of to this earlier in the season for the reveal runway, but this one is just, it's Pythia. It's very clearly Pythia. And I think that she would be in the top this week because there was such a clear bottom two of Kitty Scott Claus and Vanity Vane. And I'm just going to, Kitty's going to send Vanity home to Believe by Cher. The real question is who's going to win this episode, because the votes said that it was Nelly. The judges said it was Nelly. But I'm throwing it all out the window. I'm doing a Hail Mary, and Queen Kong is going to win this episode because Nelly's looks were fantastic. But when she did over Pythia, the makeup wasn't the greatest I've ever seen in my life. And she obviously wouldn't have Pythia here. Who knows who she would have? She could have had, Tessa. She could have Miranda. I don't know. Who knows who she would have. But the way Queen Kong beat Soa Demuse's face in these beautiful black and gold gowns, this was just such a slam dunk makeover. They look like sisters. They look like the family resemblance is there. The looks are there. The chemistry between them is there. You can tell the love that they have for each other. This was such a slam dunk makeover win for me. And I get why they gave the win to Nelenia, because they had robbed her of wins previously in the season and they had to give her one before the end. But in this scenario, Queen has 0 wins and Nelenia has 2. So I think Queen winning here makes total and complete sense. We lose Vanity Vane and we are at the top 5 commercials. And this is kind of hard to judge because who knows what Pythia would do. I think at this point, she got the critique in the roast that she should have just done the Greek character. She should have just done the Zeus thing again. So we saw that Tessa did Switzerland for this challenge instead of doing Germany. And I think that there's a chance that maybe Pythia does Greece instead of Canada. And if she does that, I think that could be really funny. She could even play multiple characters. She could play Zeus. She could play Aphrodite. She could play Athena and pretend to be Athena Likis. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many things that she could do. And I feel like that'd be a really smart route to take it. I think if she tries to do Canada, she's in the bottom. I think if she tries to do Greece, she's going to be in the top. And let's just have some fun and say that she does Greece, because I really think after getting that critique, when RuPaul tells you what to do, you do it. And I feel like RuPaul would even probably tell her in the walkthrough, like, if you're struggling here, the Greek thing was funny. Go Greek. I do think Alyssa would be the winner of this challenge still. I think Alyssa, you just, put her in a room and let her have fun, and she's going to deliver some gold. Her commercial was really funny. It was really Alyssa. And she needed a win because she hadn't had one since episode 1. She had a lot of safe placements, and in this scenario, some bottoms as well. And I also think Nelenia did super well. So I genuinely think that the bottom 2 here would be Kitty Scott Claus and Queen Kong. Queen had the worst of the commercials. Well, Tessa did, but Tessa's not here. So Queen had the worst. And I think Kitty's was just super expected. Like, I didn't laugh. I feel kind of like the roast. It was things I've heard before. I don't think she added anything new. And I think that her runway, this is the Queens in Space runway, her runway was just, like, okay. You know what I mean? Like, it was fine. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't as exciting as some of the other runways were. So I would say that the bottom two here would be Kitty Scott Claus and Queen Kong, lip syncing to Don't Leave Me This Way. And I think that, come on, Queen Kong is going to win this lip sync, sending Kitty Scott Claus home with 0 wins. Ooh, with 0 wins. I know that's rough. That's real rough, but I mean, the roast, she wasn't great. The Snatch Game, Pythia was better. And the girl groups, her runway wasn't good. So I'm so sorry, Kitty. I'm so sorry. I promise you, I don't hate Kitty Scott Claus. I truly don't. I just think she was pushed. So she would go home here, and we have a top 4 of Alyssa Edwards, Queen Kong, Nelly, and Pythia. And these are their track records. So they are doing a challenge where they have to kind of basically teach a dance move, a Just Dance move, to the audience, and it's like Dance Like the World Is Watching, and it's really cute. And this is where it's hard, because, like, Pythia's not a dancer. Pythia, I don't think this is her thing, but I think if she made it funny, maybe it could be, but I don't know. I mean, if we're just looking at this episode, Alyssa Edwards and Nelly were the 2 best, and probably should be the top 2. But if we're looking at the season as a whole, I mean, Alyssa did okay, but Pythia was in the top almost every single week. And Pythia's finale look, I'm sorry. I mean, Alyssa looks good, but this isn't even Alyssa's, in the top 3 or 4 looks that she had on the season. Whereas Pythia just looks incredible. It's a callback to her runway with the 2 heads on Canada, and she added a 3rd head. She has tongues. I mean, this is just so cool. And Alyssa looks good, but I don't know. I mean, I get that it's Alyssa Edwards and we want her in the top and we want her to win. I get it. But I think the top 2 would be Pythia and Nelly. I think that you could cut Queen and Alyssa, and I think if you're looking at the overall performance of the entire season, it's Nelly and Pythia that truly stood out every single week, almost every single week. And they are going to lip sync to Bad Romance by Lady Gaga. And, I mean, come on. Nelly is going to win that lip sync, and she is going to win the season with Pythia as the runner-up. And, when I came into this, I wasn't sure how, if Nelly was going to win. I wasn't sure if Pythia was going to make it to the end. I wasn't sure what was going to happen. I wasn't sure if Alyssa would just take the win again, but I truly think, looking at the track record, Nelly deserved this win. She killed that finale. She did so well in the challenge. She did so well in Bad Romance. She truly was one of the greatest queens on this cast, and I think she deserved the win. So, to all of the Nelly lovers, congratulations. To all the Alyssa Edwards fans, she still made it to the finale with 2 wins. I think both of her wins were deserved. And I think that is what would happen if Global All-Stars wasn't rigged. So let me know in the comments down below what you think. If you think I'm full of shit, if you agree with me, I would love to know your respectful opinions. And these beautiful, wonderful names that you're seeing on screen are the people who have joined my YouTube members. So I just want to special shout out for this week, Nick Spees, Joel Cruz, and Anna Victoria. If you want special episodes every week of Dragula and UK7, you can join and become a member today to get those videos as well as some extra fun perks. And it is a great way to support me and my channel as YouTube continues to screw over queer content with its algorithm. Woo! Again, Drag Duel is upon us. Make sure you are following so you do not miss the Meet the Warriors photos and videos coming out on Monday, October 6th. starting at 2 p.m. EST. Also, I am doing the rigged recap with Black Boy. I just had Dantasia DeBatty from Drag Duel Season 2 on as a guest, and we have a special guest coming for this upcoming episode from Drag Race. So it's always fun to have a Rue Girl on, and I'm very excited to have that. So the links to all of my social medias are in the description down below. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch all of you in the next one.